On March 27, 2023, a 28-year-old transgender Audrey Hale walked into a Christian elementary school in Nashville with 3 guns and fired more than 150 rounds for more than 15 minutes, killing 6 people, including 3 9-year-old children. Upon further investigation into Hale's life and activities before the fatal tragedy, it was discovered that the 28-year-old murderer was receiving treatment for a mental health disorder. Hale is one of the 40 million plus American adults who have either received or are receiving medication for mental health problems. In other words, Audrey Hale totally lost her mind, and who's to say the mountain of medicine she had been taking played a key role in making that happen? Many years back, someone somewhere decided that kids in American schools were too active. No studies or research backed up this claim, and there was no proof of these American kids being way more active than their counterparts in Asian, European, or other North American schools. Yet someone somewhere, which we will all reveal, made it look like they were. Now why would they do that? Follow us here to find out. Shortly after this baseless declaration that had no scientific or factual backup whatsoever, kids in American schools were prescribed medications left and right to help keep them feel calmer and help them pay better attention. Today, there's no proof that American students in schools are less active or that their focus has improved since they started using these medicines. But there's proof of something else, something far more devastating and sinister. American kids who used these medications as children grew up dependent on them, and as time passes, they sought stronger medications to tackle issues they had been conned to believe were serious. Now, a sizable number of the American teenage and adult population shoves drugs down their throats at the slightest sign of discomfort. The result? A drug-addicted society facing the biggest mental health crisis ever in the history of humanity. Also, notice that all these mass shootings occurred at the same time as America was being drugged. Before this, there were hardly any shootings in schools, movie theaters, parks, shopping malls, churches, groceries, etc., even though Americans were armed to the teeth with guns since 1776. How do we go from being a brave and strong people to one so weak and heavily dependent on chemicals? Stick around as we dig deeper into this alarming problem. Without a doubt, chemistry has improved and extended our lives the past 200 years. From medicines to fertilizers to transportation, chemicals are an essential part of our existence. Without them, our modern society would come to a screeching halt. But beneath all these benefits is a ravaging evil that is less spoken of. Big pharmaceutical executives have created massive companies and hired mad scientists to create concoctions of drugs that exploit the average person's desire to feel better. The first success they achieved was in making us believe that every single discomfort and pain, no matter how trivial we face in life, can be solved by popping down pills, by making us believe that we alone cannot solve our problems. They want us to look for outside solutions. If therapy and support groups are not enough, why not look towards pills? That's right, pills!
I have a moderate to severe disease that a lot of people suffer from. So, I'm taking this nondescript pill on a daily basis because I've seen the same commercial over 50 times in a single week saying it's my best option.
Take Zoloft. Side effects may include dry mouth, insomnia, sexual side effects, diarrhea, nausea, and sleepiness.
Don't take this medication if you've had a stomachache, headache, or gas in the past 3 months. This medication may cause serious side effects, including infections that can lead to suicidal thoughts, unexpected nosebleeds, financial debt, loss of health insurance, impaired vision and hearing, delusional behavior, rapid sneezing.
See your doctor today or visit Prozac.com. Welcome back.
You have seen all those nice colorful ads on TV, magazines, and the internet showing how happy people are when on their meds. And so begins one of the most toxic relationships in human history, quite literally. Just as they wanted, we started to medicate for every little problem. And whenever they proclaim in their commercials that a new medicine is better than an old one, we immediately switch to that new one. And when they start advertising medicine for a new problem, we would see the symptoms of that problem in ourselves, and sure enough, we give that medication a try too. In no time, we become slaves to chemistry and big pharma. We started ingesting obscene amounts of drugs and chemicals without thinking twice, while corporations began making tons and tons of money. We believe we are doing the right thing while thinking that we would get better. But upon a closer look at individuals and society, nothing could be further from the truth. And I'm not just talking about opioids and other hardcore drugs. Oh no, I'm talking about much milder ones like anti-depressants and anti-anxiety medications, but more on those later. Many problems in our society can somehow be traced back to these pharmaceutical companies and our relentless desire to ingest the chemicals that they have made us believe we need. If you don't believe me, then check out this eye-opening book by Gerald Posner, which exposes the sinister plan Big Pharma has been using to sell us pills. You can enjoy this informative book, and many like it for free for 30 days on Audible by clicking the link below. The more people know what these diabolical mega corporations are doing to us, and especially our children, the more outrage there will be. So educate ourselves on this very important topic and spread the truth to all you know, because nothing is more powerful than knowledge plus action.
America has had a heroin problem for decades, but around 2010, something changed, shifting it from a national problem to an epidemic.
It can genuinely be hard to keep track, but we want to focus on just one company, to Pharma, whose rollout of OxyContin arguably fueled the opioid crisis.
The market leaders in this, though by no means the only ones at it, were Purdue Pharma, pushing their shiny new pill, OxyContin.
Court has temporarily blocked a bankruptcy plan for drug maker Purdue Pharma, a plan that would have paid out billions of dollars to address the opioid epidemic, but would have also shielded the company's owners, the Sackler family.
Sometime in the mid-90s, a pharmaceutical company named Purdue convinced thousands of gullible doctors to prescribe unnecessary opioids to unsuspecting patients. This one decision by a money-hungry drug company created the great opioid crisis that led to hundreds of thousands of new addictions between the 90s and early 2000s. Since then, millions have gotten hooked, and many have breathed their last breath because of these dangerous drugs. Nowadays, in every suburb in every state, there's a lineup of people who are young and middle-aged addicts battling abuse and searching desperately for a means to satisfy their fiend. Today, the war on drugs is America's longest-standing battle, lasting over 50 years with over $1 trillion already spent. Many have started to think that America is losing it because we are going after the wrong source. Instead of squarely facing Big Pharma, who started this national tragedy, the focus is being placed on the individuals who received prescriptions that got them hooked in the first place. Another tactic of marketing manipulation that drug corporations use on unsuspecting people is hiding the side effects of the drugs they produce. Let's say you have a genuine problem that you are prescribed medicine for. When you use the medicine, the original problem is solved, but now you have a bunch of side effects that are a result of the medication you use. In many cases, you were better off not using these drugs in the first place. Most of the prominent pharmaceutical companies operate on the same methods. They create massively sponsored and far-reaching fear-mongering and propaganda about all sorts of diseases and issues that affect people, whether big or small. They over-magnify the dangers of these issues even when the probability of them happening is very low. A good example is the recent coronavirus pandemic. Pharmaceutical companies who wanted to sell ventilators and medications allied with big governments and media companies to make the virus look far more dangerous than it actually was. As a result, people became overly scared and they started fussing about things they typically wouldn't fuss about, like handshakes and going to school. They successfully got the government to lock people in their homes for months and months on end. During the lockdown, people were stripped of some of the rights and freedoms, and so many people suffered as a result. Some people picked up unhealthy coping mechanisms like drugs to deal with the loneliness and claustrophobic feeling of the lockdown. Because of this, more people fell sick with non-coronavirus related illnesses, and you guessed it, pharmaceutical companies got to sell more meds. How lovely! The most heartbreaking fact about the opioid crisis and other crises triggered and promoted by pharmaceuticals is that the effects are not limited to adults who, to a large extent, have the power of choice and free will. Unborn kids are being affected too. A large number of kids are born with complications related directly to addiction and opioids used by their parents. It's a sad thing to contend with because these babies never asked for this. If they're lucky, they get to live with these complications and other effects for the rest of their lives. The unlucky ones never even make it past their first few birthdays. Another heart-wrenching negative effect of our heavy dependency on drugs is the increased number of children in foster care. This is due to broken homes caused by drug abuse or overdose. The American foster care system has been criticized for a long time for its less than optimum living conditions. Kids who grow up under these circumstances are statistically more likely to enter the vicious cycle of substance abuse plus participate in other societal vices like gang banging and jail recycling. And all this began when pharmaceutical executives who see nothing but profits convinced equally greedy doctors to write addictive opioid prescriptions to their unsuspecting patients. These big pharma leaders all knew they were lying through their teeth when they claimed that these opioids are not addictive. So all those homeless people you see rotting their beautiful lives away have these white-collar drug dealers to blame for their downfall. The same can be said for the poor young lives in foster homes. Didn't the Holy Bible warn us in 1 Timothy 6:10 that for the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. But we are not done yet. Just as the number of kids in foster care has seen a huge increase, so is the number of homeless people across America. Places like Los Angeles, Seattle, and Philadelphia have seen a rapid growth in the number of homeless shelters and homeless people scattered across their streets. For every 10 homeless people, at least 7 of them are due to substance abuse and other drug-related issues. The rise in homeless people corresponds with a sharp increase in the rate of crimes. Locals are complaining of their cars being broken into, their homes being burglarized, and their valuables being snatched by weapon-wielding scoundrels. Businesses have to shut their doors for good, and even luxury apartments fall in value. Tourists are no longer coming because walking the streets is no longer safe as tents, needles, human feces, and dead bodies are everywhere. And it gets even worse. Overall, the American economy takes a heavy beating. Apart from the billions of dollars spent fighting the problem itself, there are smaller problems attacking the American system and slowly eating away at the revenue that should be accruing and put to good use. In areas where opioid prescription rates are high, there is a huge decline in workforce participation. There may not be any research or study that directly pinpoints opioid use as the culprit, but years and years of slowly observing the effects of opioid use suggest that it is indeed the culprit. According to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, NIDA.gov, in 2022, there were 73,838 fentanyl overdose deaths. That's an average of 202 American deaths per day. Now ask yourself, what economic loss does America suffer from just fentanyl alone? And of course, the emotional cost is priceless, as thousands of grieving fathers, mothers, sons, daughters, and friends will never see their loved ones ever again. If we step away from their role in the opioid crisis for a bit, we see all the other atrocities that big pharmaceutical companies commit on a daily basis. One big area is their role in killing research into traditional medicine and more accessible remedies. For decades and centuries before the arrival of technology, our ancestors created remedies from plants and natural amenities they found around them. They recorded far lower rates of debilitating sickness and lived longer than we currently do. Between 2019 and 2021, life expectancy in the United States actually declined 2.7 years. Historians report that some older generations and ancestors actually lived longer. Some of them clocked 100 years in fair health. A lot of this has to do with the kind of natural remedies and medications they consumed, in addition to all the natural and homegrown food they ate. Today, pharmaceutical companies are spending a lot of money to kill the natural remedies industry. They are suppressing companies that take the initiative and using their wide reach to bury any media mentions of these natural remedies. Another unethical practice that pharmaceutical companies have gotten away with for decades and continue to get away with is shrouding aspects of their production and processes in mystery away from the media and general public. Many independent reporters and journalists have reported on less than healthy production processes, materials, and chemicals in the drug and medicine industry. A lot of this information is out there, but unsurprisingly, the people who have the power to do something about it are doing nothing. If you're wondering why it is unsurprising that the people who have the power to question and sanction these drug companies are not doing anything, it's because of one thing and one thing alone: the sweet money jar. Pharmaceutical companies are notorious lobbyists. They fraternize with politicians to get them to do their bidding while wreaking havoc on the rest of others, all for a quick buck. Big Pharma also give donations to politicians to extend patents and hence keep their monopolies for as long as possible. This means cheaper genetic drugs can't be made to benefit patients who can't afford the expensive brand name meds. It's a business where cash exchanges hands and ordinary citizens like you and me are unfortunate victims.
$6 billion with a B. That's how much Big Pharma's throwing at every patient group, college, and organization it can find. Public Citizen has the receipts, and what we found was striking. We found that recipients of pharma cash were hiring the same lobbyists to lobby on the same bills as the pharma companies that are giving them money. Diabetes groups hiring the same lobbyists as the insulin manufacturers to lobby on the same drug pricing bills? Sounds a little suspect, right? A little common sense is in order. Pfizer, Eli Lilly, these aren't charities. Do you think they're giving away $6 billion for fun? Or do you think they're looking to buy friends?
Since the government has proven to be complicit in letting these pharmaceutical companies run wild and unchecked, the onus is on us to stop their wild in any way that we can. Just like with many situations in modern society, the people we choose to protect us have sided with those who are harming us. So we have to take the responsibility of defending our very lives. The very first step to regaining our normal lives is to immediately cease the usage of all these dangerous chemicals, from antidepressants all the way up to addictive painkillers and recreational drugs. Of course, it's easier said than done, but we must have the courage and determination to make this bold first step toward liberating ourselves. Just look at all the happy lives out there that were regained once people got off their dependency. Street bums become respectful members of society. A homeless drug addict is now a professor. A lady with a bad habit for meth is now a college graduate. You probably know some recently self-liberated folks yourself. If these people can do it, anyone can do it. Take back our lives by turning away from dangerous chemicals and never use them again. The second step we have to take to solve these issues propagated by these pharmaceuticals is to go back to the things that sustained our forefathers and ancestors. These people lived far healthier than we are currently. They had less technological knowledge, and yet they harnessed the power present in local, natural, homemade remedies. Plants, animal products, and other similar items that are accessible and natural. These things saved their lives whenever they fell sick. There was also no large-scale fear-mongering, and so people were not unnecessarily scared of diseases and illnesses that could be simply treated by a few hours of rest or exercise. They also recorded much lower levels of mental health issues, and as a result, depression and suicide were almost unheard of. If we want to avoid the side effects of medicines and avoid falling into larger holes while trying to escape smaller ones, it's important that we learn about the natural cures and remedies that our foreparents knew so much about. Again, these natural healing methods hardly have any dangerous side effects, unlike the so-called medicines we have today. And it's not just incorporating natural products into our lives, but making simple lifestyle choices as well. To better illustrate what we mean, I will give you a recent tragedy in my family. My late father, No Doan Quế, may God rest his soul, was a caring, loving, and brave person who provided for our family. He served in the Free South Vietnamese Army to protect our people from communism and other criminal elements. He was also a lawyer, husband, and father who instilled values and wisdom into my sister and I. He sacrificed a lot for us, and we will always remember him. Months before his passing, we could see his life slowly slipping away, and this left me deeply depressed. How could I go on without him? I've never done this before. What would my life be without this keystone figure? But I found the courage to go on with support from family, friends, and my Christian faith. Never once did I pop down any anti-depression or anxiety pill or any mind-altering chemicals. Nor did I turn to alcohol to numb the senses. I faced the harsh realities of life head-on and won. Looking back, I have no regrets because I was there until his last dying breaths, and I did it all without any dangerous chemicals. I even managed to help my crying mother by taking her on mini vacations to nearby attractions in order to change the atmosphere. My wife and I would get mother's mind out of the sadness by engaging in fun, healthy activities. It worked like a charm, and all without any medications or alcohol. Within just a few weeks, my mother no longer cried nor was sad. So in summary, we all can deal with tragedies, hardships, losses, and anxiety by immediately not using any chemicals in the first place. And if we are currently enslaved to them, then immediately quit and never touch them again. To have us remain clean, we must have the right mindset of not needing drugs, plus engaging in healthy activities and be around loved ones who will emotionally support us. By adopting these 4 simple techniques, we kill 2 birds with 1 stone. 1, we stop putting money in the pockets of greedy pharmaceutical executives, and 2, we stop polluting our precious bodies with these dangerous chemicals that do more harm than good. The ruthless greed of Big Pharma has spiraled out of control, ravaging our nation and people with addiction, exploitation, fear-mongering propaganda, poverty, and death. Their manipulative tactics have turned us into pill-popping zombies, slaves to their chemical concoctions. But we cannot remain passive victims any longer. The time has come to break free from these corporate drug pushers and reclaim our health, our sanity, our very humanity and destiny. We must starve the beast by rejecting their toxic products and seek natural, time-honored remedies, plus healthy lifestyle choices from the bounty of the earth and our loved ones. Our ancestors thrived without Big Pharma's poisons, and so can we. But it will take a united front of outraged citizens to loosen Big Pharma's stranglehold on our government, our media, our minds. Contact your elected officials today and shame them for collecting blood money. Cancel your prescriptions and boycott these merchants of chemical misery. Together we can overthrow these corporate kings of dependence, misery, and their culture of addiction. Together we can reclaim our birthrights as free, clear-minded human beings in harmony with the natural world around us. The battle lines are drawn. Whose side will you be on? The future of our families and our nation depends on our answer.
Is named after SB 44, and it was his daughter that died of a fentanyl overdose back in December of 2019.
But today we're meeting at North Langley Community Church, and we're organizing the funeral for a 21-year-old daughter.
Rise up and fight back against the Big Pharma menace. Live drug-free and live happy. Start winning. And what is your take on this? I would like to hear your stories of loved ones or anyone you know who have been hurt by Big Pharma. I will gladly donate this place into both a learning platform for everyone to share stories as well as support one another through this grave crisis. As freedom-loving people, we must retake back our lives and health by breaking the shackles of addiction. Let's talk.